Blog Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Lectures of Fallen Wisdom. My name is not important, but I am a voice that helps. I am a voice. Anyway, let me tell you the real issue here. It's fear. It's pumping through you at all times. It's a driver of economic activity, driver of political activity. Fear. Constantly there. And we're doing everything. All the things we do are meant to stave it off. We have the underlying fear of death. But then we just have that general anxiety about the future, about the fact that we regret certain things in the past, and then we're just carrying it with us in a way that is very unnatural. It needs to be banished. And here's the reason. It doesn't help you. It actually hurts you. You can't face the things you fear while you're fearful. So even in the instance that it's warning you, which it isn't, facts warn you. Fear doesn't, you don't need fear. It's a throwback emotion from your animal days. You have a mind now. You recognize threats, but you deal with them. And there's no need for fear. Fear might be necessary to create an autonomic response in your body if, say, a tiger is in your immediate vicinity and you need to sprint as fast as you possibly can to escape the clutches, the claws, the very real danger of a wild animal. In very rare moments, fear will serve you to, it's an after effect of these, well, it's a simultaneous effect of all these automatic responses. What does fear and anxiety automatically do to your body? It slows your metabolism. It conserves energy in that way. That's why it makes you fat, to be under anxiety all the time. 1, you will overeat. 2, you will store more. All to distract yourself. You'll eat to distract yourself from the anxiety. And the anxiety will tell your body to save what you eat because there's an upcoming trauma, an upcoming famine, something your body fears. And so your body prepares for the feared event. Perhaps you'll be trapped under a rock for a week. Those extra calories that it stores instead of just burning off will save your life in those last few days. There's reasons for it. It's not like we should demonize fear. Fear has its place. But it's in those moments. Never should be prolonged. And to go through your day with anxiety, you might as well be drinking a poisonous liquid. That's how harmful the chemicals of anxiety are to your body. And our capitalist / consumer-driven society has done is it has tried to induce fear and panic about having the things, not having the things that other people have, and wanting and getting you to obsess over it to the point where you're afraid that you won't have these things that they offer you, these things that they're selling to you. So it's materialism is all tied into fear because it's tied into image and it's tied into all these importances that are advertised to you. And then when you don't, when you don't feel like you measure up, or you don't think you will, or you just fear generally, because they teach you to fear. They teach you to fear and be anxious to feel great regret too. Now I talked about how they made you believe that you're responsible for every bad thing you've done. And I'm not saying you're never responsible for anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, well, I am kind of saying that. When you do stuff that's fucked up, that wasn't you. Okay? So you can't really regret it. You can acknowledge that it was the wrong thing to do and then take steps to never do it again and to fix what you did wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. But regret doesn't help you do that. Just knowing the facts does. In fact, regret just poisons your body. Regret is the flip side of fear. We always fear that we're going to do something that we regret, right? Or that we're going to have a regrettable moment. And we're tiptoeing around. We're not in the ready position. Our minds, distracted by fear that doesn't involve an immediate aggressor. Any kind of fear that is not actually present, is not involving events that are present before you in that moment, are just poison. They're poison in the moments where danger is actually coming at you. It's a poisonous concoction meant to galvanize your body to respond. But if you're pumping that poison regularly in little doses all day long, think about what it does to your body. Think about how that's the aging process. The aging process is nothing but the erosion of the body through constant negative emotional events. And the body doesn't want, the very molecules would rather be part of the earth. The very molecules will rebel against such a body. And so you can't stay together very long. Those of you immortalists who want to live forever as physical, you better get rid of fear. You better get rid of anxiety. Now, that's easier said than done. There's all kinds of anxiety drugs and psychiatrists, and they tell you to talk about it. How about this? How about just banish it? Banish it from your mind. Why? Because it's not useful. The very thing that you're afraid of will get you more certainly if you're fearing it than if you're not. Fear is a tool of your enemy. Fear is a tool of the thing that you fear to have influence over you and to give you apprehension. That apprehension ruins your cognition, makes you much worse of a person. In fact, makes you a lost person. Fear is and anxiety is, everybody's feeling it. Everybody's kind of living their life by it. They're using it as it's their, you have like a daily planner. Most people just use their anxieties as a daily planner. Just like whatever they're most anxious about, that's what they tend to. And so they use it as sort of like a way of just doing their business. It should be banished. Then you just plan your shit out. You plan what you're going to do. Once you get that fear off of you, now you have to get it off of you. Take some time out from whatever you got to do and just get it off. But if you're just moving along and you don't have time to sit out, just remember this. You'll if you're fearing any kind of, if you have fear, if you have anxiety, and there's not a lion or some killer or some monster coming at you in that moment, then it's bullshit. Fear. It's not real. It feels real, but it can't be real. because everything is fine right now. And so now, obviously, there's going to be certain things that kind of talk will not banish the fear, right? I mean, you're in the midst of something where you really need to focus and you do have fear. But the banishing will take care of at least 80% of it most of the time. And that's what you need to do. There's just, look, if you really fear this thing, then you must get rid of the fear to defeat it. Otherwise, then your fear is even more bullshit because it's not even that you don't actually fear it. You're just feeling fear, which is completely useless if it doesn't actually guide you to do the thing that you need to defeat the thing you fear. And that thing is to be completely free of fear, to have banished your. You do that, and you can face anything. There's nothing to fear. The only fear you can really have is that you'll be too fearful to face what you need to face. Banish the fear. You feel fear right now? You feel anxiety? Why? Is something coming at you? Are you facing an active enemy then right now? Well, if that's the case, then please turn this off and face the problem. But if it's not happening now, right now, this fear that you're feeling is just a self-concocted chemical poison that you are inflicting on your body. And chances are you are doing all kinds of things, all kinds of drugs, all kinds of overeating, whatever kind of distraction with porn or whatever, to try to distract yourself from this fear, this anxiety over nothing. It's like you can't really define it. I mean, you can assign little things that are going to come up in your life that might be challenging, that you're anticipating might be challenging. So you're having some apprehension, some anxiety about it. But is that helping you? Is that reminding you to work on it? Or is it actually making you want to distract yourself from the whole thing and not even think about it? Because that's what anxiety and fear does. It doesn't push you to solve your issue that you're fearful of. It pushes you to put your head under your covers and hide away and watch cartoons and try to forget about it and just never tend to it. That's a fucking miserable life. A life that has fear in it, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. Roosevelt. Is a life with fear worth living? A coward dies 1,000 deaths. A soldier dies but once. Be a soldier, man. A soldier's taught in the army to banish the fear. Not to feel it. Just to say, look, I'm not in danger right now. I'm okay right now. There's no reason to feel this fear right now. Fear is an automatic response. Fear is an instinctual response. Fear can be swept away with the rational mind. The rational mind understands what it is. It's there to initiate certain bodily functions. Just like you can stop yourself from taking a piss, you can stop yourself from pissing fear all over yourself. Now, sometimes it'll be overwhelming, but that's usually when you're encountering the danger. when you're afraid for real. And then you really will lose your shit. You might even piss your fucking pants. That's fear. This other store-bought, commercial, almost like a shadow of fear that people call anxiety. I need my anxiety medication. You don't need any medication. You need to banish fear. Laugh at it. It's ridiculous that it exists without a tiger or a lion or a bear. It's fucking ridiculous. And we don't need I don't need 10 psychiatrists to help me with that. I just need me to be conscious enough to be like, what? I'm feeling fear right now? What am I fucking afraid of? Talk sense into yourself about this. Don't let it poison you. It's a poison. It's a goddamn poison. It makes you ill-equipped to handle any challenges of your life, anything you want to do. And it immobilizes you, and that's the reason why your opponents try to make that happen. When you fear your opponent wins. When you fear that your opponent will win, you lose. There's nothing to be scary about your opponent winning over you. It's fine. Whatever. Nothing matters except bodily harm and injury, and that's not happening. So there's nothing to be afraid of. Nothing. Now we're dealing with a lot of fear with regard to this disease. It's like you have to, they're like, well, people need to be afraid because then they'll do what they need to do to stay healthy. The problem is that the fear will lower your immune system. The fear will actually, what happens is fear puts you to sleep and keeps you from doing things through awareness. It actually puts you in a sleepwalking state where you have kind of 25% of your working brain. That's not a person that's going to be able to do the things that need to be done to be safe. So it's not useful, and it's not keeping you in line. It's not making you more equipped. It's just this byproduct of a primitive animal nature that we inherited. But now we're much higher evolved. We don't need it. And regret is the myth of free will. Anger, the myth of anger is also a throwback. Anger is something that maybe in the midst of a knockout, drag-out fight, it might give you the edge. But other than that, in just normal settings, it's always wrong. It's always fucked up. So, but anger comes from anxiety. Anger comes from fear. You extinguish, you banish those, you banish your anger. You banish jealousy. Oh, I'm scared my wife's going to cheat on me. Why? Not the woman you wanted. Obviously not, right? Why are you fearful of that? She did you a favor. You're going to spend the rest of your life with someone who's going to do that? No. Good. Done. No fear, man. There's nothing to be afraid of at all. There's nothing to be anxious about. at all. Unless there is. What I mean is, unless there's an immediate danger, and that will come and it'll come, and you'll deal with it, and the fear will come, fine. But even then, you check yourself. You're like, you understand the surge of fear, and you say, you know what, it's a byproduct. It's absolutely unnecessary. Now that I first felt it, it initiated the body reaction. It doesn't need to be felt anymore. Sweep it away. It's like a car alarm. Do you just leave the car alarm on? Just leave it going while you get back in the car or drive away? No. Most of the time, the car alarm goes off wrong. Most of the time, the car alarm is a false alarm. And that's what fear is. Fear is a false alarm most of the time. And when it isn't, hey, we know when it isn't. There's no question about that one. But when it's just happening and there's nothing coming at you, then it's just useless. And not more than useless, harmful, poisonous, death-dealing, cancerous, and all other kinds of maladies. Now, you really want to change the world. You got to change your inside. The world harmonizes with you. Everybody contributes to it. The more powerful souls, the more balanced souls are keeping this world together. The more chaotic souls are just rocking the boat. But it only takes like one chill soul to neutralize almost 200,000 or more unchill souls. So you have a lot of power as a chill soul. You have virtually none as a chaotic soul. You just add to the general chaos. We were brought down here to bring order to this chaos. We gods were brought down, materialized, to bring order to this. And yes, like when you get put into the physical, there's a pain factor. There's things to be afraid of. But fear itself is a poison. It's like a venom. And we can't sustain long injections of that venom from our own glands. Remember, we're just a bunch of little animals that have decided to create a union. If you look at our different organs, they look like different species. We're like a collection of these things. Our organs are animals that have come together and formed a collective sheath. Their fear thing, they used the fear a long time ago. It was a thing that they used. It's like asbestos. It was a good fire retardant for buildings at a certain time, until they found out that when you breathe it in, you die. You get cancer. That's fear. If you breathe in fear and anxiety, you get cancer, inevitably. Or you just age. You lose buoyancy. And you do things to try to alleviate that anxiety that erode you. Smoking, drinking, drugs, overeating, watching TV forever and ever and ever. Just fucking around doing nothing, procrastinating, not being productive about the things that you care about. Because you have all this fear and anxiety that you just need to distract yourself from. You can't work on anything productive because you just want to veg. Veg is, I have anxiety. I can't do anything but just try to calm it. So you want to be smart about keeping your mind clear of fear, sweeping it away. If you're thinking of something while you're fearing something, and so chances are you're fearing something that is coming, that you don't know how you're going to deal with it, and you keep going over it in your mind because the fear keeps reminding you of it. And so you start to think, oh, well, maybe this fear is useful in the sense that it causes me to work out in my mind how I'm going to deal with it. No, because you're working it out with fear, and 25% of your brain is being used. You're coming up with dumbass solutions. Your brain needs to be completely chill for you to come up with good solutions. Now, I was talking generally about the world and its chaotic nature. You want the world to be less chaotic right now? Because it's pretty chaotic, I have to say. I don't know if you're doing it or if I'm doing it, but you better cut it out. You cut it out, and I'll tell you how. Calm yourself down. Don't get mad anymore about this shit. Don't get distressed anymore about it. It's inside of you. All this chaos that you're seeing outside of you, it's inside of you. There's part of you that's reflecting it, or that's reflecting it back. Banish it. Banish all your negative emotions. They're just useless. Most of the time, they're lack of sleep. Most of the time, you just need to take a nap and you'll be all right. But fear is a major problem. Just general free-floating anxiety, especially now with all the economic issues, and it's a mess. But realize that it's all inside. It's all something you can control by controlling yourself, keeping yourself even, keeping yourself neutral and a little bit entertained, interested. Get wrapped up in things that are truly interesting and not mind-numbing. You won't need to numb your mind so much if you just banish the fear. Banish it. See how good you feel after a few days of it. Just saying, anytime you feel it, just be like, get the fuck out. No fear. Try it. The breathing is extremely important here. You want to be one of the chill ones that are controlling the earth. I can give you the keys. It's in your breathing. Expanding the stomach. Breathing through the nose mainly because you breathe slower through your nose. Exhale slower. Your exhale should be like 10 seconds long. Your inhale should be slow and expanding. It should be held for a couple beats or as long as you want. In fact, I like just holding it for as long as I want and letting it seep out. See how it slows down time. See how it changes the actual world you live in. You'll get hints of the change. Or just positive things will occur. You can breathe positive things into existence. If you're chilling yourself out, you're chilling out the world. So if you're doing meditation, you're contributing so much more to the world by doing meditation than anybody is doing by just walking around and doing shit. The less you do in a mindful way, the more you center yourself, the more this world will be centered around you. and you will generate a positivity trend. So that's your responsibility. That's the thing you can't have control over. And the only way you can do it is by banishing these counterproductive emotions that, while sometimes entirely appropriate, they're relics. We don't need them to guide us anymore because we understand now. So we're gradually moving away from them. And some people are calling it sociopathy to banish our emotions. It's not. You can't avoid them. They're going to come up. But if they're not swept when they fall onto your floor of your consciousness, then you're just stepping on them. You know, when you drop some Cheerios on the ground and you don't sweep it up, it gets worse. You know, you just start stepping on the Cheerios, the rats come, a lot of predators that come to the fearful. And that's what are the people who sell you products. They're pushing you there. The people who try to get you to do things politically. It's all about fear. Get rid of it. I think I've talked this one to death. It's important. This has been another lecture of fallen wisdom.